program, I want to see those results might not be as significant if we were using a program that wasn't research-based, whereas now we're using a program in our full day K that's research-based. And if you look at the one grade, that's all they've had. First grade didn't have that last
Right.
year. They had it this year, they didn't have it last year. If you look at our kindergartners, who that's all they had.
They're high.
You look at it,
Very high.
Right.
so that's interesting to me. I think that to her point, I might even call next year to see what they look
Yeah.
like this year, out of curiosity, because I think we're going to be impressed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, really, I was
Thank
doing
you.
like flips of joy.
Yeah. I don't blame you.
So, any questions for Margaret?
It was a crazy year.
It was.
That's a lot. That's a lot of bullets.
It's a lot of bullets.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thanks to the
Thank you.
staff, because they really, in both schools, have really, elementary has really been involved in a lot. So you take a vote, I guess, Ann, on that?
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the 2011-2012 Pearly School Improvement Plan as presented by Principal Margaret Maher.
So moved.
Second?
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? There being none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Just ask. You know that. All right. Motion carries.
Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you very much.
So now we'll go on to Donna.
Moving on to Dr. Tanner.
So, as Principal Mar said, we had a very busy year at Pembroke, and I first want to publicly thank my staff. You know, we got our MCAS scores back in the fall, and we were also implementing 2 brand-new curriculums, you know, in foundations and in everyday math, and they rose to the occasion. They're hardworking, energy, and they really care for the kids, and I think day in and day out, I think our parents realize that, and they are here first and foremost for the kids, and all the work we do is because of the work they do behind the scenes, so I want to acknowledge them. I also want to thank our school council members, Michelle Smith, Amy Purcell, Suzanne McDonald, Bridget Olson, Sandy Starrett, and Elizabeth Carroll, who helped put this whole school improvement plan together. We did a lot of talking throughout the year to try and really fine-tune it to really indicate the things, the areas that we want to get stronger in. Just to highlight a couple of things this year, you know, we implemented the new everyday math. Our teachers were involved in a lot of professional development, a lot of math coaching. Grades 2 and 3, it was a pilot year for foundations, but every one of them wanted to take on foundations, and they all did. So they're actually implementing 2 new curriculums. We really focused on open response questions, and we really, as a school, decided that we were going to all be consistent in the language and the way we ask kids to apply open response questions and answers in math and in English language arts. Writing became a focus. We've piloted some homework components of the WPP, writing at home. We've really taken on the math exemplars, and we brought a lot of math support into our computer lab this year. We did a lot of math this year. We also purchased a lot of new technology thanks to the support of parents and PTA and GEF. We had 5 new smart boards, and we got 4 new Elmo cameras, document cameras. We really paid attention to the bullying curriculum in our common planning time once a month. And we continue with our celebrations and tried to improve communication. This year we asked teachers to do at least once a month newsletters to parents to keep them updated. And we've tried to stay ahead of that. In our teacher groups, we had 2 study groups our teachers were involved in: small group differentiated instruction and poetry, how to make poetry come alive. And the PTA also brought author Andrew Green, who's an expert in writing and poetry, to our school, and he did an author in residence for us, and we really appreciate the support of the PTA, and the kids learn to love poetry. Next year, we're going to still continue to focus on literacy, but we're really trying to fine-tune our units of study. This summer, teachers have volunteered by grade level. I've asked for 1 volunteer to try and align our units of study and reading to the Common Core and try and make sure that we're more explicit in our expectations. We're establishing a level library. We were able to purchase some books this summer, and we had a donation for bookcases, so the literacy leadership team has started the process of putting books, the library together, so teachers could use it as a resource for their small strategic group instruction. And we're also going to think about using interactive read-alouds. One of the things that we want to do is make sure that all students are exposed to rich literature and the literary elements and the structures and the vocabulary. So we're going to have interactive read-aloud be part of our balanced literacy approach next year. And we're going to be purchasing some materials that will help teachers. We've been talking about it, and the teachers are really excited about being able to do that, and not just always just sending kids off independently, but making sure that all kids are exposed to this rich literature, and we have protected lists for each grade level. Our writing units, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna align with the Common Core. That's really important, and really look for consistency in what proficiency looks like in writing, so we really know what a proficient writer looks like at each grade level. We're going to continue to pilot the WPP homework. It's interesting when kids do computer programs at home, and they do the Study Island, or they'll do the WP online, that they love that because they're on the computer. So it's a way for kids to do their writing and get immediate feedback, and then the teacher can get a report on how the kids are doing. In math, we're going to continue, next year, one of the big initiatives we have in our school improvement plan is to have a common time for each grade level to have their enrichment enhancement, and look at a way that we can strategically target not only our kids, our top kids, but our kids that need support. So we're going to schedule all third grade at one consistent time with the addition of the math specialist and the interventionist and the special ed support staff and teachers. We're going to try and really target our students and really give them the support, but also challenge our students. We're going to continue to use math exemplars, because when our kids do the math exemplars, they're really hard. When they get to the MCAS, they find they're really easy, because they really challenge them. So that's something that we really want to continue with. We're going to continue with Study Island as a homework component. We're going to add grade 3 next year, so it'll be grades 3, 4, and 5. In science, we're trying to make the connection to inquiry circles and also more reading, because we're finding out in our science that our kids need to apply the thinking skills that we talk about in reading to science. And so we need to provide lots of nonfiction texts for that, and we know it's going to be a big push for us next year. Each grade level next year is going to be doing a science project, so each student will have a science project time during the school year, grades 2, 3, 4, and 5. We all felt that needed to be a big push at Pembroke in the science area. We also are going to add, Mr. Walsh is going to be being a resource coach for second grade. He's going to go out and help our second graders as they navigate our playground area. And we're going to continue with our wellness in physical education and at CPT. We're going to really talk to kids about making healthy choices and eating well, and we've talked to the specialists about really making that a focus, and we've already started the planning. And the last thing we have is Mrs. Bergson is going to teach kids research skills using the Big Six. So we are consistent in how we ask kids to do research. So one of the things in the Common Core that we noticed was more mini research projects. Not big projects that take 6 weeks, but mini research projects. And we want to be able to give kids the tools to be able to attack research. What does that look like? What are the steps they need to take? How do they research? What's the first step? What's the second step? And so she's going to be implementing that in the Library Media Center.
Any questions? How do the teachers like the new math?
I think the teachers, when we had our MCAS, were excited because they really felt that there was nothing on the MCAS. Not that we chose a math program because of the MCAS, but there's nothing on the MCAS that they hadn't seen or done before. Even the teachers that were kind of probably not on the bandwagon 100% said, you know what, now I could see how those math boxes and that spiraling really helped our kids. So they didn't just learn about geometry in September and October and never saw it again until MCAS, that it was constantly spiraling. So I think they felt really good about the everyday math, and I think they're just beginning to explore all the components of it. So that's one of our goals next year, is to really dig a little even deeper into the pieces. What we're finding out is math is taking an hour and 15 minutes because of all those components, and so we know next year when we went over our schedules for next year that we have to put in that time, because the chance can't be an hour, it's got to be that extra time.
And what about the parents with the math?
Well, I think one of the things that we know that we really need to help parents with the math, I know, I hear, and I think one of the challenges we had this year is because we just plopped it in every grade level, that for our 3rd and 4th grade in particular, it was really hard because they weren't exposed to the language and that spiraling, so there were things that they were introduced to that they hadn't been exposed to. So that required the teachers to do a lot of backfilling, and I think that was, the challenge this year we had to do. And I think for our parents, I think we need to do more math nights to really help them kind of understand the language of the math and really the purpose of the math program. And I know as a district, one of the things that we talked about with Kristen and the person that will replace her is really saying, when do we teach the traditional algorithms, that really defining that as a district, that we know by 2nd grade, every 2nd grader will be, by 3rd grade, every 3rd grader will have this algorithm. So we teach them the traditional in a way, and I think that will address some of our parents' concerns that,
It
what about the
doesn't look the
traditional?
same as what most
Right.
parents had when they were in school.
Yeah.
No,
Right.
it definitely doesn't, but despite it being very different, and as a new program, I can honestly tell that my 5th grader, there was something like partial products method, I was completely lost. But my 5th grader, who's only had it this year, was able to go back and show my third grader how to do it, even though he didn't have the program. So I think that, it was good because a lot of parents were concerned, especially fifth grade parents. Our kids are getting this for 1 year and then they're going on and they're getting something else. And there was a lot of concern, and I think that, based on people I've talked to, parents were really happy with it.
Yeah, the people who've talked to me at the beginning of the year that were really, really apprehensive have actually approached me and said, I now really, I get it, and I really see my child's, really having to think about mathematics as opposed to, kind of do, more of the kind of rote thinking.
But it was harder.
But
it
is
was harder
hard.
for the younger kids. The third
Yeah, of
graders
course it
came
would be.
from
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
one curriculum last year, and then they got something completely new again this year,
Yep.
and it was hard
Yeah,
for them.
it's very hard. I mean, one of the things that going forward that's going to be helpful is the fact that we're starting this in kindergarten.
Right.
So the kindergarten, that's been our goal for the 4 years we've been working on curriculum. Has been, creating that alignment between the two schools, and I think we're.
With everyday math, which was one of the reasons that it really enticed us.
Yeah,
was
that's
it
true.
had
We do
a
this.
strong pre-K curriculum
Right.
component, and those teachers have attended all of the same training and have
Yeah.
got the same coaching
Yeah.
and experience and support. Now, all of our children don't attend preschool, but for those that do,
Right.
they have that early exposure.
Yeah.
And we are noticing our second graders with our current second graders, the first full day, and our teachers did notice the difference this year. They did.
Interesting.
They noticed in what way, Donna?
That they felt like they were easier settling down, more time on reading, better skills, and they really felt like they could tell that this group had some longer time in school. So they're really
That's
excited about
good.
next year because I know Margaret's done a lot of work with her staff and students, so we're excited.
That's good to know.
Can you just explain to me, on the goals on page 16 and 17 and 18, when I look at English language arts and I see the grade 5 performance standards there, 84, 87, 90, 93, and then I go to math, and they're in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and same with science, and why? What's that about?
Well, I think these are the original goals that we had established 3 years ago when we did the 3-year plan to do this. So I think we had originally established these, and then we went back to our improvement plan and made them a little more realistic. So we actually didn't change these numbers because we know it's unrealistic to say that
Oh,
we're
this
going
was
to.
a projection.
It was a projection that we
These
were
are
hoping.
projections.
Those are the projections we were hoping, so we didn't go back and change the numbers. We did it that way because next year
Gotcha.
we're going to change those numbers.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're hoping they're that
Were they
close.
closed? You don't.
We have preliminary results. but
Well
we-
then, as projections, why would they be projected in that range? Why
I
not
think, I think
higher?
our original hope and dream was that we would be able to improve. But I think what we know about MCAS is it's not just, it's a different pool of students every year.
Yeah.
So I think that's the challenge, and I think these are probably lofty projections based on the improvements that we'd originally seen my first couple of years, and then I think we're going to be more realistic about the projections as we go forward. But by 2014, everybody in the state of Massachusetts is supposed to be proficient. So that's kind of was based, we were trying to say that, okay, we know by 2014
That's what we
that
gotta be.
we have to be there, so we were trying to think along those lines, but.
And I think the challenge is, we're implementing new curriculum in order to get those, hopefully change some of those results and accelerate the progress. But anytime you're making a change, it takes time for people to acclimate themselves to the curriculum and to the expectations of the program. So, it's tough to be, trying to have a trajectory that's very, ambitious and high at the same time as you're making interventions that, take time to implement. However, it is our goal to, be moving and hitting that, either that state target or that improvement target. Because we don't have a choice. We won't meet AYP requirements if we don't. So that's why you see the principals doing things and at the middle school as well. And how do we provide additional time? So everybody gets the general curriculum, and then how do we provide additional time, strategic intervention? And that's when Donna talks about the enhancement and enrichment block being added, that's the attempt at that. And then the math specialist, which we were able to get in the override, that allows us to have a specialist in the building who not only do we have to rely on the expertise of our teachers, but we have someone who's going to be available to really provide that tiered instruction and really support